Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
I'm sure you'll hear from here. Let me thank Dana for her mastery of the ceremony and Pastor Emil Mattox for prayers. Allow me to acknowledge Senator the Honorable Audrey Marks. He works within the office of the Prime Minister with everything technology and efficiency. So she has some oversight as to what happens with technology and for her presence here today to associate with this very important event. Let me acknowledge Mr. Everton Murray, who's here on behalf of the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor of Kingston, Councillor Delroy Williams, Mr. Charlton McFarlane, newly minted Chief Executive Officer of the Universal Service Fund, and someone who hails from just around the road. I noticed that there is a concrete crane pump truck just behind there, and I would suspect that they are repairing the gully that was broken away. I say that just to say that there are so many things happening in the constituency. Mr. Wade Brown, Parish Manager of the STC, and of course, Senior Superintendent Damian Mandison, who is in charge of the St. Andrew South Division. He's doing a fantastic job. He told me that we have gone 60 days without any major incident in St. Andrew South. St. Andrew South is not an easy police area, one of the more challenging areas, but I must say that the police are equal to the task and that their policing is evolving. 20 years ago, quite a bit of hard policing was pursued, but if you listen carefully to Senior Superintendent Mandis, you would have heard him say we are policing by consent. I don't know if you paid attention to that or that meant anything to you, because it is almost counterintuitive that the police is there to secure our safety and security, even without your consent. They are there by law. But it is a deeper understanding that the citizen has a role to play in their own safety and security, and that some of the measures that need to be taken must be with the participation of the citizen, and that the citizen is not a bystander or an onlooker on their security. They must be active participants in their own security. They must take charge of their security. They must own the peace and become wardens of the peace in their community. And I suspect that is in the spirit that the Senior Superintendent made the comment, which is what the JCF must be about to overall policing with the consent of the citizens. So we recognize that this is a difficult area to police, many social challenges here, many infrastructure challenges, which give support to a high level of crime and violence. But this is not who we are or who we must be or who we are fated to be. We are not meant to be people perpetually at war with ourselves, blaming and injuring each other. No, we are meant to live in peace. And I think 99% of the people within St. Andrew South, and I can speak definitively for my constituents, enjoy peace. They want to see the peace. The only complaint that they have now is that since we have the peace, which is what I told you yesterday in a meeting I had with someone, we want to get back our parties. We want to have the enjoyment, we want to have the entertainment. And of course, the police is being very cautious because they know that entertainment is also a point, a flashpoint, where certain crimes can take place, particularly drive-by shootings and these kinds of things. So they are trying to balance. But I'm not here today to discuss these kinds of issues, though they have come up directly in my conversation with Senior Superintendent Andrew, who gives me a report almost on a weekly basis about what is happening in the constituency. But as we move further into becoming a more peaceful community, a more peaceful constituency, there are services and amenities that the community will want. So yes, they want more entertainment, they want to be able to have their bingos and their parties and eat their sporty competition and have their nights and weights without any challenges. Yes, they would want to be able to do that. But more and more, not just our young people, but or elderly citizens, they want access to this fantastic thing called the internet. From these communities, we have several TikTok and Instagram bloggers. I follow a few of them and see because I have to pay attention to what is being said. Our churches are now broadcasting their services using these means, particularly on YouTube. They're using it in quite effective ways to reach their shut-ins and persons who are not able to attend church. And they have gone even more digital, that they allow you to pay your tithes through digital means. Yes, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And there are some people who are using the digital platforms as a means to market their products, but as a means of commerce as well, to get their products sold. And so the internet is like a physical marketplace that everyone wants to have access to. But if you do not have the connectivity, then it is as if you are deprived of the potential of this incredible marketplace. But increasingly, the internet and the services being offered on the internet are almost becoming compulsory. They are not compulsory by law, but as governments move towards providing services digitally and brick and mortar provisions are reduced. For example, in banking services, where you're being incentivized to conduct transactions using the digital platforms, and you're finding it increasingly difficult to stand in the long lines at the banks and not having access to sufficient ATMs and so forth. You really need to have internet connectivity to your banking transactions. But the government itself is now offering more services online. Recently, you would have seen us offer digital motor vehicle registration, fitness, and other services at the tax office. In fact, more and more our inland revenue services are being offered online, so you don't really need to go into the tax offices to do your transactions. Now I know that there are still quite a bit of Jamaicans who would much prefer to go and stand in the line and speak to someone because it gives them the confidence that the transaction was actually completed. So there is still the view that transactions should happen in person. But that has changed rapidly since COVID, when we were forced to do transactions virtually. And so it is growing. And my own assessment is that within the next decade, I would say the vast majority, 80% or more of our transactions are going to be in a digital format, and more of our citizens, including our senior citizens, are going to be using digital platforms. The truth is that our senior citizens, our elderly and older citizens are already on some of these digital platforms. It is amazing to see the number of our older citizens who are on Facebook and TikTok and participating. And the challenge that I have is that they oftentimes reach out to me to ask if what they see on TikTok or what they see on Facebook is true. Because, you know, for many of them, the issue of digital literacy is a serious challenge. They would have grown up in an era that anything that is printed in black and white is oftentimes considered true. Worse, if it is broadcasted in a way that looks professional. And so we have to also be thinking about protecting them from false and misinformation. It is also the case that our young people who are technology native are also at risk, but one would hope that they would be able, because they are more in tune with the culture, be able to decipher between what is not true and what is accurate. But even so, as we move to become more digitally oriented, we're going to have to pay attention to empowering our citizens to be more digitally literate, because the internet provides all kinds of information, oftentimes without any source of verification, moderation, or editorialization, which we formerly relied on in the traditional media. There was an editor, there are broadcast standards, and there are journalism standards. But on the internet, you know, any card can play. And so it can lead to the society entering what the sociologists call a phase of anarchy, where the value systems of the society is incongruent and oftentimes eroding. But we are here today to mark another, well, three universal service forms provision of what we call hotspots for communities. I believe we have two installed already, one in Tower Hill and one in Golden Crescent in the Malines division. And so we're doing one here at the Punt area in Cockburn Gardens. We'll be doing one in the Mall Road area of Olympic Gardens and one in the Drews Avenue area of the Malines division. So this constituency will be well served with free Wi-Fi access to the internet. Now, just to be clear, it is a free service, but it doesn't mean that if the entire community came out and stood around the repeaters, that they would all be able to get on. The free service does have a carrying limit. So I'm not sure what the carrying limit is. I don't know, Charles, and you know what it is. It can carry about 400. 300 safely. Right. So the bandwidth, which is like the size of the road, that will carry the number of cars, if you want to use that analogy. The bandwidth could carry between 300 to 400 persons. If you're at the 400 limit, then the service will probably be dropping and you will probably be getting through. But it will carry roughly about that. So when you use it, you know it is free, you should still be considerate. Don't stay on it forever. Use it to do your transaction. If you need to read an email, if you need to check up on your DMs and that kind of thing, you do that, and then you hop off so that someone else can get it. And will you be able to tell us, Jonathan, what is the radius of the signal?
Yes, sir. Each access point covers, I think, 300 meters. 300 meters, each access point. And we have about 7 access points. So if you were to do a quick math, 7 by 300 would go over 2,000.
Okay, so it's not just one repeater you have in here. It's 7 repeaters per area.
Not per area, it's based on average between 5 and 7 based on the density of
Okay. So you have so based on density, but it's more than one repeater.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So in this area, your technical person is 7. So in this area there are 7. So it does throw the signal quite a distance. So you don't have to be exactly under the repeater, but it's good to be close by to receive the signal. And so I want to commend the Universal Service Fund. They have really, in the last couple of years, expanded the services. This is not a concept of this government. They've always been putting in, but we have certainly put the resources behind it, and we have expanded it significantly.
The Wi-Fi started, the community Wi-Fi started in 2020.
So importantly, an important distinction. So the Universal Access Fund worked even before this administration to put internet access in schools and public buildings and so forth. But the community Wi-Fi service actually in its full scale started under this administration in 2020. And that was necessary, as you will imagine, when the pandemic broke out globally. So we are now literally covering almost the critical spine within this constituency where the bulk of the population would be. So right now, if you don't have internet and you need to conduct any kind of business that requires internet, there is a free option for you. But if you go and you don't get on right away, don't get frustrated. Remember what I said, that there might be other people on it as well. So as you use it with consideration and discretion. We will continue to expand the service as we get more resources. Ultimately, however, the objective of the government is to have full internet coverage and access island-wide. So we are building out a broadband network right across Jamaica. And in fact, there is something called Cockburn, which is the government's broadband network, which we have expanded last year. You may have seen that we were giving up some roads and laying cables so that the government has connectivity for all its own operations and for schools and for our ports, our parish councils, our police stations and so forth. And we're going to expand that nationally so that we have a government broadband network. But we also want all communities to have access, so we are working along with the service providers in public-private partnership to be able to bring to your communities broadband internet access at an affordable price. So ultimately, all Jamaica will have access to the fastest broadband speeds. So the question is, now that you have got this lovely highway, what are you going to do with it? I have no objections to people using it for social purposes. You know, when I was growing up, I used to like playing video games too. Now all of these games are online. Many of our youngsters, they're going to gather under the repeater, and they're going to be out there on their phones, and they're going to be playing video games and playing against each other. I used to play chess online, and you're going to have that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also want to encourage our young people, especially, to use the internet to create value, because the internet can be used to create real value. And it is not just access to the internet. Now you have access to artificial intelligence, which, there's a sense in the debate and narrative that has emerged that artificial intelligence will replace human intelligence. And the first replacement of that would be in jobs. There is no question that technology has always rendered some jobs redundant and unnecessary. It's not just AI. When the printing press was built, the calligraphers and cartographers, they were rendered essential users. Right? That's just the nature of it. But the jobs that it will change, it will create new jobs. And so it is important that our young people get conversant with the technology, embrace the technology, and find new ways to use the technology. So we can't look at AI as a threat. We must look at AI as a tool. But it is a particular tool, and you could call that tool a lever or a lever, if you wish. Meaning that you can use that tool to lift more weight than you could lift by yourself. In other words, you can use that tool to do more work than your own mind and brain could do by itself. And if you learn how to use that tool, to leverage that tool, you can get more productive. We are at a point in the history of mankind where the promise of an exponential increase in human productivity is real. However, what is likely to happen is that some persons are going to embrace the technology and use it, and the vast majority of others either will not embrace it or will not be able to embrace it because they don't have access. And therefore, the digital divide is going to grow even wider. And as we have seen, the creation of wealth today is driven more by technology and digital activity than anything else. The top 20 companies in the world are all technology companies. And so for a small island like Jamaica, where we missed the first industrial revolution, and we have missed all the other industrial revolutions, we have not missed them, but we have been way behind. We have to use this point to leapfrog, and we can do it. We can do it. So, the strategy of the government, the strategy of the government is to first of all get access for the entire Jamaica. And that strategy is well underway with our public-private partnership to develop the island-wide broadband network. The second strategy is to give access, affordable access. And so we have used the Universal Service Fund to provide internet access in communities to get people to use it. The third strategy is to move services rapidly online so that our people can get the benefit of efficiency and greater productivity by moving services online. And that's the development of the National Identification System, which will allow online verification of your identity and to allow for digital transactions. And the government is going through and digitizing almost all its services. I would say next decade, you could get 80% of all government services that can be delivered online will probably be online. And then the fourth strategy now is to train persons in technology. And what we are looking for now is to start to develop a cohort of data scientists and engineers, because that is where the technology is going. So we have actually started that at a very low level with one of our partners, Amber and Hart, and they have the Amber Hart Academy, which is now training persons in coding, but they have now moved on to something called prompt engineering. They're training persons how to give directions and instruct artificial intelligence through creating what they call AI labs. How can we use artificial intelligence to improve the quality of life? And so we're building up the strategy. We have developed an artificial intelligence strategy. Minister Marks is in charge of that, and you're going to see that roll out very shortly. So as we move towards an election, which is, I know everyone here is in the back of your mind, you're thinking about it. There's a lot at stake, and there's a lot to be decided in the elections. This administration, I believe more than any other administration, and I can speak with a certain definitiveness because I've served in a previous administration, and I've been in government now for 27 years. So I can judge administrations, and I can tell you that there is no other administration that has had the presence in so many elements and aspects of national development. And not just presence, but we have been very active in moving almost every sphere of Jamaica forward. And that is why we say, choose Jamaica. Because when Jamaica does well, and Jamaica prospers, everyone in Jamaica does well. Think about it. We have halved murders in Jamaica. We have more than half serious crimes in Jamaica. Everybody benefits from that. And so we say, choose security for Jamaica. We have halved the poverty rate. We have, I keep saying to people, we have stabilized taxation. Nobody has to worry about new taxes being put on the budget every year. You don't have to worry about that. Right? In fact, we are the first government in the history of Jamaica to have given back taxes. And we have given back the taxes. We are the first government to do it. No government has ever. Governments have done amnesty, but that's what you owe on the right now. But no other government has actually taken money out of the tax revenue and said, hey, I'm giving this back to you. Right? In the reverse tax credit, this administration has done. But we are the government that has cut the most taxes. The public don't remember, GCT was 16.5%. We cut it to 15%. Transfer tax was 5%. We cut it to 2.5% or 2%, I believe it is. And several other taxes, not to mention GCT and electricity. Right? We have cut that now from 15% to 7%. So it's not just ribbons that I'm cutting, I'm also cutting taxes. Right? So I think you have a lot of evidence to consider in the choice that you have there. And it is a safe choice to choose Jamaica. God bless you.
I did ask, and Mr. McFarlane answered, you don't want to try? Come on, try. Alright? So just tell me, how many repeaters do we have across Cockburn Gardens?
7.
And look how she never want to come in. Look how she never want to come. Look at that. Can somebody please bring this young lady her brand new tablet? Right, September 1 is coming up. And what a way to kickstart the school year. A brand new tablet from the Universal Service Fund. When the Prime Minister loves to hand this over, since he's the one who really and truly ensured that you won this prize, right? As part of his segment, he made mention of that. Give her a round of applause, man. That means she was listening. That means she was listening.